Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Very good. I was just testing the mic, so thank you, Helen. Well, first of all, thank you very much for coming so early in the morning. We will make this your while, worthwhile getting up this early. Welcome to today's discussion on empowering women farmers to reduce poverty and hunger. You do have a multilingual panel, therefore there is translation available in English and in Spanish. And so, without further ado, I would like to invite Ambassador Carlos Cherniak to give the opening remarks. Thank you.
Ok. Voy a hablar en español, sobre todo porque somos grandes defensores del multilingüismo y entendemos que en cada oportunidad que tenemos donde es posible tener interpretación, obviamente defendemos la idea de la inclusividad. Así que agradezco muchísimo que tengamos la posibilidad de la interpretación. En segundo lugar, quiero agradecer a los organizadores que promovieron esta posibilidad de reflexionar juntos sobre un ejercicio que, sin lugar a dudas, fue muy complejo, fue muy difícil. Para serles franco a todos ustedes, fui partícipe de esas negociaciones y había días que decíamos, esto no va a terminar bien. Había días que decíamos, hemos avanzado un poco, e incluso siendo mucho más franco y menos políticamente correcto, me quedé con la sensación de poco, me quedé con la sensación que el producto que hemos logrado en la negociación era realmente poco respecto de lo que eran las ambiciones que algunos teníamos. E incluso habíamos evaluado si tenía sentido tener un instrumento como este, que de alguna manera nos colocaba algunos pasos atrás respecto de otras negociaciones sobre género en otros foros. O sea, ¿en qué medida legitimar un instrumento que tenía algunos pasos atrás podía ser una buena salida, un buen resultado de este ejercicio? Y era complejo porque era un dilema ético. Apoyábamos un documento que nos daba algunos pasos para atrás, o valorizábamos el consenso inclusivo de todos los miembros en este contexto y finalmente lográbamos un documento. Lo comparto, para que no crean que, supongo todos ustedes lo saben, pero cuando uno tiene este tipo de negociaciones, lo que se va es con un nivel de insatisfacción enorme. Ahora, es imposible irse satisfechos y tener a todos adentro, o a casi todos adentro. Seguramente lo que veremos en el día de hoy es un documento en el cual algunos colegas se disociarán de algunos párrafos, pero al menos habrán aceptado que haya un documento que nos incluya a todos. Digo esta introducción bien clara para decirles que no fue fácil la negociación, ni tampoco fue fácil aceptar este documento tal cual terminó. ¿Ok? Dicho esto, que repito puede ser políticamente no correcto, pero lo que yo digo en privado lo digo en público y lo que digo en público lo digo en privado. Entonces, creo que prefiero ver el vaso mitad lleno y considerar que lo importante es que ha habido en este ejercicio un ejemplo de construcción multilateral de consenso. En un mundo, en un contexto tan difícil, creo que es bueno que haya ejemplos de construcción multilateral de consensos. no solamente en género. ¿Por qué de alguna manera sabemos que ha producido y ha sido tan difícil llegar a un mínimo común denominador? Porque, en lugar a dudas, tenemos que asumir que el tema de género atraviesa factores culturales muy profundos, creencias, cuestiones que son difíciles de analizar de manera racional. Y ahí sí un mea culpa a muchos países, sobre todo países occidentales o países desarrollados, que deben tener más empatía muchas veces cuando se proponen discusiones de temas para entender y colocarse en el lugar de otras creencias, de otras convicciones, de otras formas de organización de las otras sociedades. Sin empatía no hay construcción de consenso posible, y no solo en género. La importancia de visibilizar la interacción entre la cuestión de género y la seguridad alimentaria es un tema importante. Hemos escuchado durante el ejercicio la sensación que debíamos abocarnos a la seguridad alimentaria y, por lo tanto, no era la cuestión de género un tema prioritario para ser incluido dentro de estos debates. Y me parece que esto amerita alguna reflexión. En la medida que reconozcamos las desigualdades de género existentes, en perjuicio de las mujeres, de las niñas y de otras diversidades sexuales, el gran ausente probablemente de este documento, que es reconocer que la multiplicidad de realidades debería ser mucho más clara, explícita e inclusiva dentro del documento. Lamentablemente no fue así, pero son los costos que hay que pagar si queremos tener un documento. Pero eso no significa que pueda silenciar la voz de algunos que hemos levantado la bandera de plantear básicamente el tema de la diversidad como un tema fundamental. Pero decía que la relación entre la cuestión de género y la seguridad alimentaria es un tema importante porque lo que tenemos que partir es de la base de la desigualdad. Esa desigualdad existente en materia de género que se da tanto en materia de producción de alimentos como en materia de accesibilidad de los mismos. Y por lo tanto, para poder avanzar en políticas públicas transformadoras, resulta imprescindible primero reconocer esas desigualdades para poder ser reducidas y eliminadas. Esas brechas existen, son estructurales, hay que transformarlas y tienen relación directa con la seguridad alimentaria de quienes son los más perjudicados o los más vulnerables dentro de esa cadena de desigualdades. No es un ejercicio abstracto, no es una construcción teórica. Las mujeres, las niñas y otras diversidades sexuales son claramente jugadoras de segunda en el juego global de la seguridad alimentaria. La relación existente entre los niveles de desigualdad entre las mujeres, niñas y otras diversidades sexuales en relación con la seguridad alimentaria se replica también en relación con el acceso a la salud, a la educación, al financiamiento, a la autonomía y al empoderamiento de las mismas. Por lo tanto, hay un proceso donde la estructura de desigualdad replica en otras áreas que implica a su vez un círculo vicioso que retroalimenta la desigualdad. Es parte de la misma matriz, es parte del mismo concepto patriarcal que invito a deconstruir. Como ustedes saben, Argentina es un país joven que este año festeja sus primeros 40 años de democracia ininterrumpida y claramente debo decir esto y debo remarcar esta idea de la democracia porque sería imposible pensar en cómo hemos avanzado en materia de género y otros derechos sin la precondición de tener un sistema democrático en nuestro país. No quiero ni corresponde que plantee un modelo único o un modelo ideal de organización política en otros países. Pero en nuestro país, en Argentina, los procesos de avance en materia de derechos hubieran sido imposibles si no tuviéramos una democracia consolidada que cada día de alguna manera se va consolidando y se va fortaleciendo. Como ustedes saben, y esto creo que está claro, y es lo mismo que con la democracia, los derechos no se regalan, los derechos se conquistan. Y por lo tanto, se necesitan múltiples esfuerzos, mucho trabajo, y ello es lo que ha permitido hacer oír la voz de las mujeres. No fue gratis, nadie regaló nada, fue todo lucha y fue todo conquista. Como parte de los objetivos de este evento es compartir experiencias y por lo tanto o historias de éxito. Y me gustaría en los minutos que me quedan compartir una política pública de la democracia argentina, el denominado Plan Integral en nuestras manos, in our hands, dirigido fundamentalmente a las mujeres de la agricultura familiar, campesina e indígena y de la pesca artesanal. Dicho plan integral parte de la base que las mujeres no son un sector o un cupo, sino que representan el corazón, el factor clave de la alimentación de nuestra gente, que están curtidas, maduradas en las luchas ancestrales y en la sabiduría transgeneracional que se hacen cargo en gran parte de la producción de alimentos. A pesar de ello y a pesar de su importancia, sus vidas están llenas de desigualdades y el plan viene justamente a visibilizar la invisibilidad para reducir o eliminar las brechas de desigualdad en materia de propiedad, de acceso y goce a las tecnologías de la agricultura familiar, pero no solo en la vida de las propias mujeres, sino también en sus familias y comunidades, como una suerte de efecto catalítico. La clave del plan es la apropiación por parte de sus beneficiarios, a partir del ejemplo de pensar en conjunto, de pensar de manera comunitaria, para poder imaginar cuáles son las tecnologías que las mujeres necesitan para llevar adelante sus producciones familiares. Esa discusión entre ellas pone en discusión los roles o estereotipos de las mujeres y de los hombres en el sistema productivo familiar. Voy a tratar de acelerar, después quedo a las resultas de cualquier consulta, incluso bilateralmente, pero en nuestras manos representa el Estado presente, a partir de políticas públicas transversales en las mujeres rurales. Ello requirió, obviamente, incorporar áreas y ministerios que trabajaran de manera conjunta, de manera sinérgica, porque, y en esto debo decir, una pieza clave, y esto se vincula con uno de los temas del panel, es la de establecer un registro, establecer data, establecer información. El registro permitió incorporar información que justamente no existía, porque estos sectores están invisibilizados, y registrar, dar información, buscar la información en el terreno con perspectiva de género es indudablemente un proceso clave para imaginar cuáles son las políticas públicas transformadoras a llevar adelante. Quiero acelerar. Claramente, cuando un Estado avanza de esta manera es porque está dispuesto a cuestionar los preconceptos instituidos del sistema patriarcal, para construir políticas públicas que recuperen la especificidad de cada territorio, creando las bases para un futuro más sustentable, más justo e igualitario. Claramente, para poder marcar algunas líneas de trabajo de este plan, y con eso concluir, Presidenta, hay 200 proyectos en ejecución en la Argentina sobre este plan integral, que abarca 21 regiones, 21 provincias, incluye a 2.800 aproximadamente mujeres líderes de comunidades y básicamente se basa en tratar de facilitarle el acceso a mujeres para la innovación, para maquinarias agrícolas, para herramientas e insumos agropecuarios e incluso para la titularidad sobre el patrimonio de la familia productora. Es decir, uno de los problemas, como todos sabemos, es la dificultad de las mujeres rurales muchas veces para poder ser verdaderamente parte de lo que es el patrimonio familiar. Es decir, desde la titularidad de la tierra, desde la posibilidad de acceso al crédito, desde la posibilidad de ser ellas las que de hecho trabajan, pero no pueden de alguna manera sentirse empoderadas o autónomas. Otra línea de trabajo, y es muy clave porque estamos hablando del escenario post-COVID, del escenario post-pandemia, que como ustedes saben, afectó de manera impresionante a todas las actividades productivas, pero no les quiero contar lo que fue en las pequeñas producciones rurales o la agricultura familiar. Por lo tanto, esa línea segunda de trabajo se llama Recomenzar y incluye una asistencia post-pandemia con fondos rotatorios y capital comercial para proyectos que ya estaban financiados pero que fueron afectados por el COVID-19. Reimpulsar la comercialización de los productos de la agricultura familiar, campesina, indígena, pesca artesanal, afectados por el COVID y por la pandemia. Y promover el fortalecimiento de espacios de comercialización y abastecimiento local para justamente tener. Entonces, claramente, y por último, quiero marcar un tema que me parece central, que es el trabajo de constitución de unidades productivas, muchas de ellas agroecológicas, pero con espacios o refugios para víctimas de violencia de género. Cuando uno se imagina el escenario rural en países en desarrollo, en países con mucho territorio, el Estado está muy lejos muchas veces de esas unidades productivas, de esas poblaciones rurales. Es imprescindible imaginarse los escenarios de víctimas de violencia que no tienen posibilidad de acceder inmediatamente al Estado. Por lo tanto, el Estado tiene que salir a constituir redes comunitarias para poder ayudar, y para que eso pueda funcionar no alcanza solamente en tener un lugar donde puedan ir a dormir. La mujer que es víctima de la violencia doméstica, de la violencia, tiene que tener un lugar donde pueda seguir produciendo, pueda construir, pueda formarse y pueda convertirse en una ciudadana con la posibilidad de no sentirse marginada, salvar su vida, pero con ello no alcanza para poder decir soy una ciudadana con la posibilidad de producir, de formarme, de construir ciudadanía y convertirme nuevamente en una persona con la cual pueda recuperar su autoestima y sentirse parte de un proyecto de liderazgo comunitario. Con estos comentarios, Presidenta, pido disculpas por si me excedí unos minutos, pero son temas apasionantes y en particular a mí me generan una enorme pasión. Muchísimas gracias.
Wow, thank you so much. This is so inspiring. Thank you very much, Ambassador Shania, also for sharing the challenges very candidly that you face. And I have to say, your dedication, we can feel the passion when you speak in getting the CFS Voluntary Guidelines on gender equality and women's and girls' empowerment. So thank you very much for that. I think we can all agree that you made a very important point that women empowerment is an ethical question and fundamental to food security. You also reminded us that gender inclusive policies can make a positive impact to change women's life, of course, but their families as well as society, and you referred to democracy. Thank you for that. And then thank you also for the inspiration on sharing the concrete steps that your country, Argentina, is taking to advance the topic, including the policy. I love the name, En Nuestras Manos, and also for the support in the field. And I think many of our panelists today will talk about also the importance of financing and how it can be life-changing, and so that we can provide the critical opportunities to progress. And this is really what we want. So thank you again, Ambassador, for joining us today. So let me turn to the continuing on our program, want to remind you that we do have access to translation in English, Spanish, and French. So please tune in if you have that. Let me start maybe by introducing myself. You might be asking, who is this woman? My name is, I'll be your moderator for today. My name is Marie-Chantal Messier. I'm the Global Head of Food and Industry Affairs at Nestlé. I have to say that I couldn't be more excited and delighted to moderate this panel today as a woman and also as a nutritionist who have worked with women farmers in many countries, developing countries around the world. This topic is very, very dear to my heart. And therefore, this is why I'm super excited for the objective of today's panel. So we have basically two objectives. One is to explore how the CFS Voluntary Guidelines for Gender Equality and Women's and Girls' Empowerment can contribute to overcome the challenges that women face in agriculture and food systems and food security. And then what you will hear definitely from our panelists is inspiring and concrete recommendations and solutions for stakeholders, policymakers, and organizations involved in agricultural development. Today, we have a fantastic panel of speakers. We already started with Ambassador Cherniak, but we also have the honor not to have only one, but two ambassadors to speak with us today. We are also joined by His Excellency Ambassador Christian Frutiger from the Swiss government, and who is also the head of delegation for the Swiss Agency for Development and Cooperation. He will deliver the closing remarks. And couldn't be happier to have a panel of three remarkable, strong women with us. We have Olufemi Eranloye, who is a PSM member and the CEO of Sultry International Limited. She will talk to us a little bit more about what we have. We have Robina Najingo, who is the gender lead for the Kahawetu Foundation in Rwanda. And we also have Janice Giddens, who is a PSM member as well, and Vice President Sustainable Nutrition at the U.S. Dairy Export Council. Don't worry, we have reserved time, ample time for discussion. So please, whether you are online, joining us online, or in the room, come forward with many questions. And so with that in mind, let me turn to the powerful female voice on this, joining us today. Women farmer entrepreneur Olufemi Eranloye will speak to the her company, which is basically bringing cassava produce to the market in Nigeria, the largest economy in Africa, and how she has expanded her business. And Robina will also, she leads 14,000 women farmers, is that correct, Robina? To promote resilient community and improve economics of smallholder farmers. And then Janice Giddens is a fellow registered dietitian, so I'm so glad that we are two on the panel, and will provide insights on women's empowerment from the dairy sector, and also as an active member on the gender negotiations. So let us start with the first round of questions and talk about the importance of women empowerment in the agricultural sector. Robina, my first question is for you. How do you believe that the CFS guidelines can support the activities in your country?
Yeah, thank you. Good morning, everyone. The CS guidelines, especially on empowering women into leadership and raising their voices, it's very important because, like, if your voice is not heard, then you're not anywhere to be seen. So in Rwanda, what you're doing, we are having a gender policy for coffee farmers, where we encourage coffee farmers to have a committee which includes 30% of women in leadership, so that their voices can be heard, they can take part in decision-making of their produce organizations and every aspect that affects their lives. Again, on the issue of socio-economic empowerment, we are trying to form women, and we are using the International Food Policy and Research Institute framework, which is called Reach, Benefit, Empower, and Transform. So in benefiting women, we are trying to form income-generating activities for them, like we give them agri-businesses, livestock, and then we also give them some other income-generating activities that empower them to have more income-generating resources that supplement income from coffee, because coffee is generally a seasonal crop.
Yes, I think
Yeah.
we have the presentation
So
just behind us.
I'm going to take you through the presentation, because I just wanted to just answer a question. Yes, I'm presenting COUT Foundation. COUT Foundation is a non-government organization that supports smallholder coffee farmers to increase their capacity in terms of good agricultural practices, to increase coffee production and the quantity of coffee. So it works across East Africa in Rwanda, Burundi, Uganda, and Kenya. So I'm now talking about the part of Rwanda. First, talking about coffee in Rwanda, coffee is among the export crops in Rwanda, and it's grown by over 4,000 smallholder coffee farmers, and we export around 16,000 kilograms per year. And the annual harvest per tree in Rwanda is around 1.5 kgs. It's very small, yeah. And the coffee is grown on an area around 0.2 hectares. The land is also small, yeah. So we also face different challenges, like in any other countries. We have challenges facing women in coffee farming, and we actually have very few women in coffee farming because coffee in our traditions had been taken like a man's crop because the woman is at the field. She does almost 70% of the work at the coffee farm. But when we reach to the selling point, you find the woman is nowhere to be seen. So there are so many discriminatory cultural norms that bind the woman only at the coffee farm, and she doesn't reach the end of the coffee value chain. It's very unfortunate that all her efforts are not recognized. Then because of that, she is not accessing finance to buy the farm inputs. It's also very sad because this person who contributes a lot to the coffee farm does not have the farm inputs, does not have the funds so that she can improve what she's doing. In addition to that, these women are lacking access and control to land. Our country, Rwanda, has so many good policies. It is very gender sensitive, it's very gender responsive, but the cultural norms are also very strong. Yeah, we have the gender policy, we have the land rights law, we have the inheritance law, but despite the fact that we have all those laws, the social cultural norms are very strong in that the woman, even so the land law gives 50% ownership of a woman to land and 50% ownership of the man to land. This woman, by culture, she doesn't have any control over the land. She has access, yes, but she doesn't have control over land. What does that mean? It means this woman will never take this land to the bank as a collateral. She cannot, without the consent of the man. And getting the consent of the man is very, very hard. Even for us women who are educated, sometimes some decisions at home are not easy to take unless if you're very strong to stand on your feet and fight for your rights. Yeah. So there are so many problems. As I mentioned, we have access to land, but we don't have the control. We don't have the financial resources to buy the farm inputs we want. We do not have the ways of getting out of these cultural norms that discriminate against us. So what we are doing with Nestle that supports our activities to empower women, we are using what I talked about earlier, the Reach, Benefit, Empower, and Transform framework that was built by the International Food Security Policy and Research Institute. This framework starts with reaching. How are we reaching out to women? What we do, we mobilize coffee farmers. They form groups we call producer organizations. And then when we are in the producer organizations, we request them to elect committees. Those committees should be having 30% women leadership. And through those committees, that's where we transfer our trainings through, the training on good agricultural practices, the trainings on regenerative agriculture, so that they can increase their production and also increase the quality of coffee. Again, through these produce organizations, we look at food security. You know, among our gendered roles as women, we do care for the families, and so we are responsible for the food security in the homes. So what we do, we work with health centers, because we are not experts in food nutrition. We work with health centers. They come and train our farmers on food and nutrition and hygiene. And then we also look at sexual reproductive health trainings. Why this? We have these trainings like the population in Rwanda is going too fast. We are around now 14 million people, and the land area is only 26.338 kilometers squared. It's very small. Actually, we are requesting our farmers to produce children that they can cater for in that perspective. So in terms of numbers, we've reached 14,000 coffee farmers, including 50% women and 7% youth. We have trained 11,651 coffee farmers on gender equality and farming as a family business, so that they plan together, they grow together, and they invest in other businesses. We have supported 404 women with income-generating activities, including liquid soap making, agri-food business, livestock, so that they have different streams of income that can supplement the annual income from coffee. We also have these village savings and loan associations. These are groups where they meet once a week. They save between $0.5 to $0.2, and this gives them access to finance so that they can buy farm inputs and improve their agriculture. Yeah, we also continue to train them on good agricultural practices. Sorry, we have so many testimonials, but there is one which I wish you have a look at. The video. Yeah, this is one group of women with HIV/AIDS. They came together by themselves. They are growing pineapples to get some fruits to eat as they are taking electrovirus. And then we approached them because our major business is coffee. So we introduced them to coffee, and then later on gave them livestock. Yeah, you can play the video. Can we start the video? Yeah.
Kuko hari abanyamuryango bamwe bari bafite ikawa, atubona nyamara twegereye ikawa yatugira inama ikadufasha muri urugendo turimo. Nibwo twaje kugana ku ruganda, tuvugana na manager wacu, turavuga tuti nyamara turi ababyeyi natwe dushaka kwiteza imbere mu buryo bunubu. Twe dufite igihingwa cy'inanasi, ahubwo turashaka guhindura noneho mukaduha ikawa, kuko turabona n'abahinzi ba kawa nabo ari abantu biteje imbere. Twararebye nubwo gifite imirimo myinshi, kandi mu gusasira, mu kuzikorera, mu kuzisarura, mu kuzitunda, ni imirimo ikomeye cyane. Ahubwo twaravuze tuti nubwo turi abagore natwe turashoboye. Niyo mpamvu twatinyutse, turitinyuka, natwe turazihinga. Ni ukuvuga rero ngo icyo umugore ashaka n'ubundi kirashoboka. Ubwo rero Kahoti yaje kubidufashamo, iduha ikawa. Hahantu twahinze inanasi zapfuye turazirandura, turahatunganya, iduha ikawa 1,500. Rero twarahinze, turahinga, igikorwa cy'ikawa kiraduhira cyane. Kuri izo kawa rero twarangije tuzisaruye mu mwaka ushize, dusarura toni n'ibiri 160. Kahoti yaratwakiriye cyane yishimye, ikajya iduha n'amahugurwa y'uburyo twafata neza umusaruro wacu, y'uburyo ibyo tugurishije n'ubundi twandika ibyo tubonye ibyo dukoze twandika nabo baradufashije mu buryo bwo kwiyubaka turabashimiye cyane ku buryo n'ubundi Kawatu ntabwo yatugiye kure yarakomeje iradufasha kugeza aho kuri ino saha yaduhaye ifumbire yaduhaye bene ebyiri urumva ko ari abantu dushima cyane byimazeyo Kawatu rero yabonye imikorere yacu n'uburyo twiteje imbere iravuga iti ni iki kindi twabafasha mwakora iki muri izi kawa zacu atari ko nyamara tubagira inama mwakora n'ikindi kintu ubwo batwigishije igikorwa cyo guhuza amaboko yacu n'ubu tugakora n'akabina ko kuzigama no kuguriza ubu tugeze ku gikorwa gishimishije gikomeye ubu ako kamina turimo ni ikimina rega si n'akamina abanyamuryango banjye barimo kwiteza imbere ku buryo bushimishije ubu barimo baraguza barimo baraka inguzanyo turabitsa kuri konte kuri banki turumva nabo twishimiye bikomeye cyane.
Wow, wonderful, very strong, very powerful. I retain what women want, she can achieve it. How beautiful. I think it gave us many, thank you, Rabina, you gave us many ways to help women achieve their aspiration. And congratulations for your work with the Women Power. Yemsi, you're a CEO, you're an entrepreneur, you work in the country that is both inspiring and challenging, Nigeria. Tell us more about the most effective activities, policies, interventions that have helped women, because you work with women, and how you have helped empower them in their work and their farming activities.
Thank you very much. I agree and concur to everything my sister has said. The challenges are similar in almost all the countries in Africa. However, I would like to just share light on some of the things that we have done in Sotri to help alleviate these challenges. One of the major challenges of women is land. In any of the African countries, even when they own the land is taken over by their husbands, becomes a family asset, as it were. And so the man uses it for whatever he wants, or he doesn't have, or she doesn't have access to it at all. And so as a business, it was a deliberate, intentional attempt for us to want to include women in our farming, population. We started with just less than 10, and then we decided we will grow the number year by year. So it was deliberate. As a business, it was a deliberate attempt. So the only way we could solve the issue of land was to acquire land as a business in an in-grow fashion, clear the land, and portion the land like an estate. I mean, when you walk into an estate, you see houses, they are being labeled. So what we did was to now give the women portions of land, 2.5 acres each, for them to be able to farm on. We provided hostel of about 10 rooms with bunk bed for women to be able to come in with their children that are less than school age, and a little kitchen where they can make food for them while they supervise their farms. So when we did this, we found out that more women were, one, willing to want to farm, two, were happy to want to farm, and their husbands were willing to release them because they can actually say that they are in this particular location. One of the reasons why women are prevented from farming is that the husbands claim, we don't know where they are, we don't know what they're doing. How am I sure they are doing what they said they are doing? So, but where they can actually locate them to say they are in so and so farm estate part time, we saw that it increased the comfort for the women. So because they are in a particular farm estate, it's easy for the company to provide them with training because they are in a particular location. We are able to advance them herbicides and fertilizer on loan, and then the farm, and then we are able to write it down on their ledger. At the end of the season, when they bring the crops, we deduct whatever they are owing, and the women are able to go home with their profits. After a woman we've tried you with our fund for two cycles, that's for 2 seasons, we go ahead to introduce you to the bank, and then the company guarantees the money, which is being given by the bank to the women cooperative. By the way, the women are in cooperative, like she said, they are in cooperative. So we advance the money to the women, and they cross-guarantee each other in a way to say, I know her house, I know her family. I can say if she doesn't pay, I will pay. So once a woman is able to say, yeah, give you that kind of guarantee, it means you have some sense of integrity. So that's all we can take from them, is just you must find 2 people who can testify to be your guarantor in the group. And then you are being given the loan in cash, and then the company guarantees the loan. And when they bring the crops, we are able to deduct whatever they are owing, and they are able to take their profit. One other major thing we did, after about 4 years, I noticed that the land was getting depleted. I wanted to increase the revenue of the women. So, and then with the issue of climate change, so we're able to smartly use climate change to solve the problem of increase their yield and increasing their profit. So we introduced them to planting leguminous crops, 3-month leguminous crops, before they plant the cassava. So they plant beans, and when they harvest the beans, they're able to have beans all the year round to feed family. And some of them get very good yield. They're able to sell a little before they plant their cassava. Some other women use soya. So they plant mixed crop soya with cassava. And it's so perfectly done that they are able to harvest the soya and also harvest the cassava. Soya is about 6-month crop. So they harvest it before cassava comes out in 12 months. The advantage of this is they're able to practice the regenerative agriculture, which helps their soil to get nourished. They get protein for the family. They are able to get some cash before time, and then eventually are able to harvest their cassava. So these are some of the things that we have done as a business to be able to increase intentionally more women farmers in our business.
Fantastic. I took a few words: making a profit, having a guarantee, having backing, access to financing, yield, but most importantly for me was your point on adopting regenerative agriculture, which leads to many benefits. So not only does it improve soil, mitigate climate change, but also is a way to improve the nutrition of families. So very inspiring. Thank you very much. Janice, to you, what more could we do to empower women in the agricultural sector?
Thank you so much for that question, and thank you to everyone who showed up today to be a part of this important discussion. I especially also want to thank the excellencies from Switzerland and Argentina for being here to show their support too. My name is Janice Giddens. I'm Vice President for Sustainable Nutrition at the U.S. Dairy Export Council, and in that role, I do represent the international trade interests of U.S. dairy farmers and their sustainability commitments to providing nutrient-rich products to communities around the world. I've spent much of my career centered on women and improving the nutritious foods that they are able to acquire and they are able to grow. I have proudly worked as a farmer with farmers and for farmers across 3 continents to help bring more nutritious foods to families and to markets. Now, I want to talk a little bit about what the dairy sector is doing around women in agriculture. Last week, the International Dairy Federation, which I'm a member of, hosted its World Dairy Summit. And this brought together 1,200 people from 55 countries. And it also included the IDF's 120th anniversary celebration. It hosted its first roundtable on women in dairy by its first woman DG. And I want to reiterate, in 120 years. So I was very proud to be a part of facilitating that roundtable, and it gave me a lot of opportunity to source content for this meeting today. I heard lots of stories from women in primary production as well as throughout the agri-food system. And they shared many things with me, which I'm going to bucket into kind of 3 priorities that they asked me to bring to Rome here today and to talk to you about. So one of those is unique financial products and vehicles for being able to finance their farm. Many women talked about unique opportunities for grants or for loans that were centered on women that allowed them to improve infrastructure, sustainability practices, animal health, marketing opportunities, but they continue to reiterate that these unique financial vehicles and opportunities are greatly needed to help women grow in agriculture. Now, the second one was around mentorship and education. Mentorship in skill building, but also in confidence building. So many of these women grew up on farms, but they weren't trained how to farm because they were the girl. So instead, their brothers or their cousins or another male in the family was brought along on how to operate tractors, how to plant and grow with the seasons, and how to care for animals, but these women were not. So when they decided that they wanted to return to farming, it was really difficult for them to have the confidence to know that they could step into that role as the farmer. And some of these women didn't grow up on farms. And their opportunities for mentorships and finding other women who were leading farms and were the farmer were really difficult for them. And so they had to either figure it out on their own, or they had to look for other opportunities through ag extension programs, or even many men who are willing to also mentor women, which is critically important. And the third thing that they brought up was cultural shifts. Not only did they bring up cultural shifts around banking and financial inclusion, so being able to have a bank account, land tenure rights that we've heard talked about here so passionately, but they also mentioned that when they were even sitting in front of media and reporters, that they were often not referred to as the farmer, they were referred to as the farmer's wife or the farmer's daughter, when in reality, they are the farmer. And so it is critically important that we also work on cultural shifts that are needed to allow women to grow and to thrive in the careers that they want to be in. Now, I want to note that these are just some of multiple issues that women face. And we know that the recent FAO Women in Agri-Food Systems report highlighted that 53% of women are involved in retail trade, but they trade in less lucrative commodities and they make less money overall, which highlights one of many disparities that we need to address. Now, I was here with the CFS as a member of the private sector mechanism throughout the last 3 years of the gender negotiations that took place. And as I close my remarks, I want to note that there are many people in this audience who work diligently and tirelessly on those guidelines. And some of them are here. I suspect many of them are online. Some of them are probably in bed or out in a field somewhere. But Madam Moderator, as I close my remarks, I would like to be so bold as to propose that we all give a round of applause for the people who are here and not, for being able to come together to draft these voluntary guidelines on the importance of gender equality that we hope will be passed unanimously today in plenary. Back to you.
Thank you. Yes, let's send all the positive vibration in the world that these guidelines are adopted today. So many people have put so many hours. It almost feels like sleepless nights as part of it. So we're wishing that it will go smoothly today. Also, thank you, Janice. I think for me, finance, we've heard it today. How can we make women access to finance? Mentorship, there's a beautiful program sponsored by the PSM that I think EMCME, you've been part of. And what I really like about you said is confidence building. Cannot emphasize that more. I think many of of us women feel that we need to build more confidence, and this is absolutely key. And your last point on cultural shifts, I would almost call it breaking preconceived ideas and breaking barriers. So couldn't agree more with your points. Thank you very much for sharing that. We're running a bit late on the program, so why don't I pass it on to you, the audience, if you have questions, whether you're online or here in the room, there's a microphone and you have microphones in front of you. So anyone, don't see any questions online. Perhaps someone from the audience would have a question. Yes, go ahead.
Morning, my name is Mandla and I'm CEO of Masana Dietitians from South Africa. What we also do, we're very passionate about the first 1,000 days of life. As a dietitian, I think I'm biased to that. So what we are trying to do with our ladies who are running kindergarten, we call them early childhood development centers. We're trying to get them to also start their own gardens within their centers. So now we're trying to get them to sell to their communities while also nourishing the lives of these children. You mentioned something, Robina, about the cultural gaps. And you know, that is our key hindrance, funny enough, in South Africa. Is not about understanding that they need to give their children healthy food, but the cultural gaps seem to be making a lot of noise. Now, how do you handle that? How do you handle the issues where they say a woman cannot, a woman cannot, a woman cannot? How do you now sell the concept that you actually can and you actually should if you're actually worried about the future of these kids that you're serving? Thank you.
Thank you so much. In Rwanda, we also have the childhood development centers, and actually it's a government initiative that has been put down to the grassroots. But what we are trying to do to shift the cultural norms, we are trying to engage in men. We are training men as male change agents so that they can help us train other men, reach out to other men. Actually, when we are training these men, we are not telling them you're the perpetrators of violence. You are the ones who do not want women to raise up. No, we are trying to to show them that the culture has been a barrier to women's development, and in fact, women have a big role in the household. Without women, the house is not there. So when we train men on the positive masculinities, then we recommend them to train other men in the communities, and then they form other groups for men alone. When such trainings happen, then later on we train couples to have a same understanding of the importance of women from the coffee farm, from the agriculture sector to the family and the upbringing of children. We look at these gender inequalities actually rooted into the child upbringing. How do we raise our children? What do we tell girls? What do we tell boys? It actually all starts from the home. So when we're training men, we say it's not about you, it's about the culture, it's about the way you were raised, how your parents told you, you are a man, you should not do A, B, C, D, and you're a woman, you should do A, B, C, D, and A, B, C, D. So those trainings have been so beneficial to us, transforming the cultural norms, starting with the man as the decision maker, and then that man helps us to transform other men, and then the women, yeah. So it's not only the men who do not understand. Actually, the women, when a woman sees the man is helping out to wash the dishes, say, no, you shouldn't do that. The woman herself. So we are trying to transform that. Yeah, training men, having men alone sessions on positive masculinities, child raising, and then together as
Thank
couples.
you. Thank you, Robina. The power of transformation. Yes, one more question.
Yeah, it's just a comment. I'm Shami Ngwenya from South Africa as well. I do facilitation of, multi-stakeholder engagement and stuff. And recently, I was facilitating, this dialogue in Africa, in sub-Saharan Africa, one thing that I've observed, because that facilitation was also focusing on, gender mainstreaming, I actually saw a huge difference in terms of, the different regions, because I facilitated in Southern Africa region, East Africa, and West Africa. It was quite interesting to see the dynamics, because I was asking the same questions, but the reaction that I actually got. Then I realized that, not only cultural elements play a role, but religion as well. So it's very interesting, as much as we're talking about Africa and all that, but it's very interesting to understand, the dynamics within, different regions, and also the context in different countries. But it was quite interesting for me to observe that in something that happened just maybe 2 months ago, but it was quite interesting to observe those dynamics.
Fantastic. As I said, we're running late, and so thank you very much for those questions and your perspective. Really appreciate. Very happy to have another fellow registered dietitian, and I am absolutely passionate about the first 1,000 days, so we share that. Let me turn now to His Excellency Ambassador Christian Frutiger from the Swiss government. We live in the same country. Our paths have crossed many times, and what I do know is that women empowerment in general, but especially in the agricultural sector, is very dear to your heart. This is something you care deeply for, and so I don't think we could have chosen anyone better than you, because we talked about transformation, we talk about positive masculinity, and knowing you, I know that you embed all of those. So, Ambassador, the floor is yours.
Wow, thank you very much for this introduction, and what a rich panel. I do think the conversation should have gone on for quite a while longer. I also do think this is a conversation which has to take place with many more people. So I hope that the next one on this topic will be in a full green room, or maybe even in a fuller, bigger room. But we're doing pioneer work here, and so it's important that we can accelerate. Improving women's rights, including their equal access to productive resources and services, such as equal land rights, equal access to education and financial services, is crucial. And we've heard that with the examples from the panel. We heard that coffee is a man's crop, still considered to be a man's crop, that the farmer, invariably women farmers are considered, well, to be the farmer's daughter or the farmer's wife, but not the farmer. Access to finance is a big challenge, and that we absolutely have to do more, not only to address the structural elements, but also address the mindsets and the culture. And that is absolutely critical. How do we shift gears there and change also that mindset and the culture? We've been working on this at the Swiss Development Agency for quite a while, and we are actually accelerating our investment in this area. I'll give you one example of access to finance. CELI Africa is a market-led platform to catalyze finance for credit-constrained East African food system SMEs that offer a potential for income and job creation. So special incentives are provided for investments that empower women and promote food security, nutrition, and climate-resilient production. So CELI Africa is currently working in Kenya, Rwanda, Tanzania, and Uganda with 27 financial institutions, as well as the largest Swiss private impact investor. CELI Africa tries to close this missing middle. There is this financing gap from the smallest or smallholder to then the next level. So financial incentives as well as technical assistance to shift the risk profile and basically lower the perceived risk for investment, impacting particularly women entrepreneurs, employees, and farmers. So premiums are actually being paid upon outcome, successful outcome, gender-inclusive outcomes. Celia Africa operates with a base of grants of about 50 million US dollars from development agencies, but also private donors. And the goal is to attract 600 to 700 million private investments. So we're on good track. The program has been running for about 2 years, attracting about 150 million in terms of investment. So the rationale for promoting gender-inclusive investment is clear, because we see even, and we've heard from Robina, that even if the law actually shows or allows for 50% land ownership, this still doesn't mean that women can use the land as collateral, or that their willingness to access financing is considered equally to that to men. So the rationale is clear. Women form the majority of the food system as farmers, as processors, but also as consumers. And yet, the economic and gender gap is huge at all levels. If you move up the chain, even within companies or policy making at senior levels, women are usually underrepresented. So overcoming these disparities requires a range of interventions, and no one can tackle this alone. Switzerland welcomes the voluntary guidelines on gender equality and women's and girls' empowerment. To achieve gender equality, gender and sex disaggregated data is also hugely important. So with the adoption of the policy recommendations on data, the CFS demonstrates its ability to address food security and nutrition issues in a timely and informed manner. In a first step, with the HLPE report, which presents scientific evidence as a basis on which policy recommendations can be developed in a second step. It's time to shift gears. So it's time to move for the public sector from donations to investment. It's time for the private sector to move from CSR and shiny brochures to investment. And once we've sort of worked on that mindset and shifted that mindset, if we really want to change the food system, then we have to invest in women. Because us men, and Ambassador, I'm afraid that includes the two of us, we have done a rather lousy job on this for the last few thousand years. So let's move forward and let's genuinely start investing in women. It's a matter of belief, but it's also a matter which makes total economic sense. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ambassador. I will repeat, the rationale is clear for closing the gender gap. Thank you for urging us to shift gears, shift mindset. I think this is something we've also heard from our panelists. Transform, accelerate, invest. We've heard that. Invest in skills, invest in women, but also provide this critical financial capital that is needed. I think we can all agree that progress has been made, but so much more can be done by joining our hands together. This brings our session to an end. In a very Swiss way, I am trying to be on time, and what I would like to do is basically first a very warm round of applause for all our panelists. Many of them came very far from here, so please join me in thanking them. And let me leave you with a quote, something to reflect on from one of my favorite, fabulously inspiring women. No country can ever truly flourish if it stifles the potential of its women and deprives itself of the contribution of half of its citizens. Michelle Obama. Thank you, everyone. I wish you a very good day.